It's raining cats and dogs. If you've taken some English classes before, I'm 100% sure you've come across this idiom before. If this is in fact the first time that you've come across this expression, I'm sure you're probably thinking right now, in what weird world can it rain cats and dogs? Well, it is a very strange expression, but people use it when they want to say that it's raining heavily or it's raining a lot. Why cats and dogs? Nobody actually knows for certain. However, it doesn't actually matter because this idiom is rarely used nowadays. It's considered to be a little bit old-fashioned. In this video, I'm going to share with you 25 very useful idioms for any English conversation. Idioms that native speakers use all the time, and I'm going to break down the video into 5 different categories so you have a clear idea in which conversations or situations to use them. First, we'll start with idioms to express your opinion, and then we'll look at likes and dislikes, describing your hometown, talking about work, and finally, habits and feelings. Not only will idioms make it easier for you to better understand native speakers, but also they will help you to sound more natural in conversations. Now, just before we begin, I'd like to introduce our sponsor for the video, Quillbot. Introducing Quillbot, your new writing assistant. It can rephrase sentences, summarize text, fix grammar and spelling errors, suggest better words, and much, much more. Imagine the time you'll save. No more long hours struggling to type up work documents or write emails. Let's imagine you have to write this to your boss. If you think of any additional questions, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer them for you. But you want to make it sound more formal, you're just not sure what to change. Well, you can put it into Quillbot and then click Formal, which will then give you some suggestions to make it sound more professional. And Quillbot is also available as a convenient Chrome extension. So as you're writing anywhere on Gmail, Docs, Notion, etc., it will offer suggestions and highlight mistakes in your writing on the go. I highly recommend trying Quillbot for all language learners, students, and working professionals. Just click the link in the description below to try it for free. Anyway, let's dive right in with expressing your opinion. My take or my take on this?
You want my take? I mean, you really want my take?
Essentially, it means my opinion is. It's a more concise way to introduce your viewpoint in a conversation. So when you say, my take on this is, you're essentially signaling that you're about to share your perspective or opinion on a particular topic. Imagine your friend is complaining about their boyfriend and they say this: I don't get it. I've asked him 100 times to put the toilet seat down, but it's like he's on a mission to see how many times I can fall in the toilet before he remembers. Now, to respond to this, you could say, my take on this is that you should give him a break. Men are simple creatures. So basically you're saying, I think you should stop putting pressure on him to change his habits. Here are some other examples. My take is that you should find a new job. It sounds way too stressful. My take on this is that the government should do more to stop global warming. Moving on to the second idiom, in my book.
Not in my book, he's not.
It also means I think. However, it's a more personal expression of your viewpoint. When you use this idiom, you are emphasizing that this is your personal belief or judgment. As you saw in the example, you can make it negative and say, not in my book, which is like saying, I don't think so. Here are some examples with in my book. The government's doing an awful job in my book. Now you say it. In my book, it's the best city I've ever lived in. Nice one, good job. The bottom line. This one is used to highlight the most important fact or conclusion in a situation, often when you want to simplify or summarize a complex issue. It's like saying, what's really important is, or what really matters is. In a job interview, your qualifications matter, but the bottom line is how well you can contribute to the company's success. The bottom line in achieving fitness goals is consistency in diet and exercise. This idiom will also be great to use in the IELTS speaking section if you're taking the test. I'm in two minds about it. This expression conveys that you are uncertain or have conflicting opinions about something. It's like saying, I can't make up my mind, or I have mixed feelings about this. Practice pronouncing it with me and focus on the area at the end, about it. The word ends in a consonant sound and the next word begins with a vowel, so we connect the words and it sounds like about it. Or you can drop the T's all together and say it like about it. Let's say it together now with the T. I'm in two minds about it. And now without the T, I'm in two minds about it. Perfect, good job. If I were to hazard a guess.
If I was to hazard a guess, I would say that you found Emma's tablet.
If I were to hazard a guess means to make an educated guess or to speculate. When you use this idiom, you're indicating that you're making an informed estimation or prediction based on available information, even if you're not entirely sure. Here's an example. I don't know where your keys are, but I'd hazard a guess that you left them in the car. Not my cup of tea.
That's not really my cup of tea.
This phrase doesn't refer to actual tea. Instead, it means you don't like or enjoy something. It's like saying, it's not something I'm interested in. Also, remember that this phrase is only used in the negative. I suppose technically you could say something is your cup of tea, but I've never actually heard anyone say that. Interesting pronunciation note, when spoken quickly, cup of tea can sound like cup of tea. Try and say it after me. Cup of tea. Perfect. In terms of an example, imagine that somebody has invited you to a heavy metal concert, but you prefer classical music. You might say, heavy metal isn't my cup of tea, but thanks for the invite. Don't see eye to eye. This phrase is used when there's a lack of agreement or harmony with someone, often leading to dislike or conflict. It means you have different opinions or views on a matter. My mum and I don't see eye to eye on politics, so we discuss other things. Listen carefully to the natural pronunciation of this phrase, see eye to eye. Because the preposition to is not a key word, it is unstressed and we use the schwa sound, ta instead of to. Listen and then repeat. See eye to eye. Brilliant. Let's check out some examples with this idiom. My supervisor and I don't see eye to eye on my performance review, so I refuse to sign it. My sisters don't see eye to eye with me about the arrangements. To have a soft spot.
I can't help but have a soft spot for this play.
When you have a soft spot for someone or something, it means you have a special tender affection or liking for them. It indicates a warm emotional attachment. The origin of this idiom is a little uncertain, but it's thought to come from the idea of a soft or tender place in your heart for someone or something. You might say, I have a soft spot for rescue dogs. They always find a place in my heart. Or, something a little bit more romantic, it looked to me as if Tom had a soft spot for Emily. Have a whale of a time. This phrase means to have a great or enjoyable time. It's a playful way to describe having lots of fun. So if someone asks you, how was the party last night? You can say, the party was sick. I had a whale of a time. Sick is a slang term used in the UK to mean amazing. You could use have a whale of a time at work while talking with your colleagues. Let's imagine you have been away on holiday and you arrive back on Monday. You walk into the office, sit down at your desk. Your co-worker looks over at you and says, nice tan. Looks like you enjoyed yourself. You can reply by saying, yeah, I had a whale of a time. I would definitely recommend visiting Croatia if you haven't already booked something. Drive someone around the bend. This idiom is used to describe situations where someone annoys or frustrates another person to a point of exasperation. If someone constantly talks loudly in the office while you're trying to concentrate, you might say, their constant chatter is driving me around the bend. The next category of idioms is all about describing places. Whether you're talking about your house, your city, or your last trip, these idioms will be very useful. So let's have a look. A stone's throw away. Imagine you could throw a stone and easily reach the destination. Interestingly, this idiom reflects an old measurement for proximity, where the distance was assessed by how far one could throw a stone. Suppose you're excited about your new flat in London because it's so close to the train station. You could say, our new flat is great. It's a stone's throw away from the station. In the heart of the city. This means being located right in the center or the core of the city. The opposite would be living in the suburbs or the outskirts of the city. When spoken naturally in the UK, in the heart of can sound a little bit more like in the heart of, so we drop the T at the end of heart. If you're describing your hotel's location during a holiday, you might say, our hotel is conveniently situated in the heart of the city, close to all the attractions. Off the beaten track. Picture yourself planning a holiday or a vacation. Instead of choosing the typical touristic spots, you decide to explore the lesser known destinations. You can say, We decided to go off the beaten track and discovered a charming, secluded village. This means you're going to less popular places or less explored places rather than the usual touristic spots. Interesting fact, the idiom has its origins in travel, where the beaten track referred to the well-worn pathways. So basically paths that many people had walked on before. Jam-packed.
The restaurant's jam-packed.
Now think about attending a major event like a music festival such as Glastonbury in the UK. When you describe the experience to your friends, you might say, Glastonbury was jam-packed with so many people. It was hard to see anything. This means the field where you were watching the band was filled to the brim with people, and the sheer number of attendees made it challenging to move around or find a good view. Let's practice saying this phrase together, and remember, this ed sound sounds like t, because packed ends in a k sound. Jam-packed. Perfect. On a shoestring. This phrase means doing something on a tight budget or with limited financial resources. It implies being resourceful and thrifty. Apparently, this phrase comes from when British prisoners would lower down shoes from upper floors using their shoestrings so that people passing by could give them money. If you're describing your backpacking adventure, you could say, we traveled through Europe on a shoestring budget, staying in hostels and cooking our own meals. Time to have a look at idioms that we can use for conversations about work. Snowed under.
I'm snowed under, to be honest, and I've got a headache.
Imagine you're at work and your boss has assigned you several projects all at once. You might say, I'm snowed under with work this week, indicating that you're very busy with tasks piling up on your desk like a mountain. This idiom is so common, and you can also use it for projects or essays that you might be assigned at university or school. When pronouncing snowed under, pay attention to the stress on the word under. It's stressed on the first syllable or sound, so you should say snowed under. The D in snowed is often pronounced very subtly, so it will sound a bit like snowed under. So it shouldn't be too strong. Say it with me now. Snowed under. Great. Here are some examples. I was so snowed under with work today that I didn't even have time for lunch. If I don't deal with these orders, they will build up and I'll soon be snowed under again. Get cracking. For this phrase, let's say you're discussing an upcoming deadline for a report with your colleague. You could say, the deadline for the report is approaching fast, so we need to get cracking on it today. This means you should start working on the report quickly and without delay. In get cracking, the stress falls on the word cracking, so you should say crackin. Also, the T in get may be pronounced softly, making it sound like get cracking. You try? Good. For example, I have a long to-do list for today, so I better get cracking if I want to finish everything. Time to get cracking. I'd better get cracking with these emails before I go home. Bring to the table. Now picture a team meeting at work. You want to emphasize the unique skills of a colleague. You might say, she brings a lot to the table, which means she offers value and useful contributions to the team. This phrase is commonly used in interviews when the interviewer asks you, why should we hire you? You could say something like, the skills that I bring to the table include strong time management and the ability to work under pressure. Go pear-shaped. Imagine you're discussing a project with a friend and you had high hopes for its success. However, things took an unexpected turn and you say, the situation went pear-shaped, suggesting that the plan or situation went wrong. For go pear-shaped, the stress falls on pear, so it's go pear-shaped. Also, remember to use the t or t sound at the end of shaped, as shape ends in a p sound, so the ed makes a t sound. Go pear-shaped. Go pear-shaped. Brilliant. Examples. He was in debt, and when he lost his job, it all went pear-shaped. My friend's surprise party went pear-shaped after somebody in the office accidentally told her. Foot the bill. This idiom means that somebody pays the bill for something, typically when the amount is considered to be large or unreasonable. If you work for a big company, normally the staff parties are paid for by the company. All you have to do is turn up. The food and drinks are all free. So you could say, the company has footed the bill for the staff do. Do is used here as a noun. We often use it for organized parties like the Christmas party. We say the Christmas do. Anyway, let's have a look at some other examples with the idiom foot the bill. Don't be angry. I will foot the bill for the damage for your car. My dad told me he's not going to foot the bill for my phone anymore. And the final category of idioms that can be very useful for your next conversation in English is habits and feelings. Piece of cake. Imagine you're talking about a task at work that was surprisingly easy to complete. You might say, the presentation was a piece of cake, emphasizing how easy it was. Note that the stress falls on piece and cake because we don't tend to stress articles or prepositions. So it's a piece of cake. Let's have a look at some examples. The exam was a piece of cake. She's very good at learning languages, so learning French was a piece of cake for her. Crack of dawn. Imagine an early morning wake-up call. You might say, we had to wake up at the crack of dawn. In natural speech, when we say crack of dawn, quickly and informally, the of sound can often become subtle or even omitted altogether. In other words, the of is replaced with the schwa sound, This can make the phrase sound more like crack of dawn instead of crack of dawn. Examples include, I had to wake up at the crack of dawn to catch my early flight. The farmers are always up at the crack of dawn to tend to their crops. Under the weather.
I'm afraid Ash is feeling a little bit under the weather.
The idiom under the weather is used to describe a person who is not feeling well or is in poor health. It suggests that someone is experiencing mild illness or discomfort, such as feeling sick, tired, or physically unwell. In terms of stress, make sure to put the emphasis on un and wev. So together it sounds like under the weather. Try it with me now. Under the weather. Under the weather. Brilliant. Let's have a look at this idiom in an example. I can't join you for dinner tonight. I'm feeling under the weather. Walking on eggshells. You would use this idiom if you want to express the fact that someone has to be extremely cautious, sensitive, or careful when dealing with a situation or interacting with someone, typically because you want to avoid causing offense, conflict, or a negative reaction. The first word can be hard for some to pronounce sometimes. Make sure to break it down into 2 syllables and stress the first syllable. The first syllable is pronounced very similar to war. So try to imagine the word war king, walking on eggshells. Ever since their argument, they've been walking on eggshells around each other. I've been walking on eggshells around my boss since I made that mistake. Break the ice. This idiom is used to initiate or start a conversation or social interaction in a friendly or relaxed manner, often in situations where people may be initially hesitant or uncomfortable. I think it's an idiom that is the same in a lot of languages, so it should be fairly easy for you to understand and use. Here are some examples. At the party, we played a lot of fun games to break the ice, and it got everybody talking. Starting a new job can be intimidating, but sharing a few jokes can help to break the ice with your new colleagues.